Yo, what's going on YouTube? It is your boy Ears. Hope you guys are having a great rest of your day, start to your day, whatever time it may be. And in this video, we'll be going over all of the new 10 best class setups to use after the 1.27 update in Modern Warfare. I've made a massive change to all of my class setups because, again, the meta has changed here in Modern Warfare. But before we get into the class setup, remember, if we can get this video to 1,000 likes, I'm going to be hooking up 2 subscribers on Friday with the full Season 6 Battle Pass. Considering the fact this is the last season of Modern Warfare's effective life cycle, I want to have as many of you guys experience this last season as possible. So if you guys want to enter to the giveaway, make sure you guys absolutely smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and also turn on those post notifications so you guys are notified immediately when I upload a new video. And also comment down below your PSN, your Xbox, or your Activision ID so I can pick 2 of you guys and hook you guys up on Friday. Now let me know, like I said, down in the comment section again, what are your thoughts on Season 6 and all of the new DLC weapons? The AS Val, is it good or bad? Is the R700 good or bad? Let me know. So with all that being said, let's get right into discussing and showcasing the 10 best class setups. Now, like I said, I've rearranged a lot of my assault and some of my specialist builds. So for the first class setup, we're going to be checking out my specialist M4A1 and MP5 class setup. This is going to be a class setup that you guys can check out if you guys are run and gun aggressive style players or trying to go for your first nuke. But do not fear, I have some additional class setups you guys can use that do not revolve around specialist. So for the M4A1, specifically the specialist build, we're going to be using it with the stock M16 Grenadier barrel, which is going to allow us to have increased damage range, increased bullet velocity, as well as increased recoil control. In my opinion, this is the absolute best barrel to run on the M4A1 because it's going to reduce that vertical recoil, making this weapon a lot easier to use at longer ranges. Now for the second attachment, we're running the Merc foregrip. This is going to add recoil control as well as hip fire accuracy. For a run and gun aggressive style M4 class setup, this is mandatory because again, we want to reduce that vertical recoil but also kind of buff up this weapon's close range handling. Now for the third attachment, we're running the 60 round magazine. I like running the 60 round on the M4 because it's already an accurate assault rifle, so being able to take out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 enemies at a single time without actually having to reload is very helpful and honestly reassuring with this weapon. So that's exactly why I'm running this attachment on my M4A1. Now for the fourth attachment, we're running the stippled grip tape. This is going to add aim down sight speed as well as sprint to fire speed. A very good attachment, especially if you guys are trying to build an aggressive M4A1 class. And to top it all off, our fifth and final attachment is going to be the no stock, so we can have additional movement speed as well as additional aim down sight speed, overall transforming this assault rifle into an SMG hybrid. Now, for my MP5 class setup, specifically for my overkill specialist builds, I'm always running the MP5 with the monolithic integral suppressor, which is going to add sound suppression as well as bullet velocity. This is going to what makes the MP5 feel like it's killing enemies a lot faster, and this is a better barrel to use over the monolithic suppressor itself, so always run this barrel whenever you guys are using the MP5. Now for the second attachment, running the Merc foregrip. The same reason you run the Merc foregrip on the M4A1, we're running it on the MP5. Recoil control as well as hip fire accuracy, making this weapon a lot easier to use at medium to long ranges if you guys have to challenge a gunfight. And it's going to buff up this weapon's close range handling, which is absolutely disgusting with this weapon. The Merc foregrip will let you get hip fire kills that'll leave you like, wow, should I really have gotten that kill? It's that good. Now for the third attachment, we're running the 45 round mag. Again, the same reason we're running the 60 round magazine on the M4 is why we're running the 45 round magazine on the MP5. So we can take out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 enemies at a single time without actually having to reload. Very forgiving and with an accurate SMG, this is the way to go. Now for the fourth attachment, running the stippled grip tape for increased aim down sight speed as well as sprint to fire speed, a mandatory attachment if you guys are trying to run a gun and be aggressive with an MP5. And then finally, to top it all off, running the F-tap collapsible stock, which is going to add movement speed as well as aim down sight speed, making this weapon an absolute monster at close range and exactly what you should be running if you guys are looking for an aggressive MP5 class setup. Now, to finish off the remaining of this setup, my perks are going to be EOD, Overkill, so I can run 2 primaries, and Amped, so I can swap between these weapons faster. Now for my specialist perks, I'm running Quick Fix, Ghost, as well as Cold-Blooded, and then for the lethal, I'm running the Proximity Mine, and I'm also running the Stem Shot. Now, the C4s recently got a massive, and I mean a massive nerf. So proximity mines are going to be a lot better, and quite honestly, I find myself getting more kills with the proximity mine, putting them in high traffic locations, and also you can kind of lock down a building a lot easier because you have a mine watching your back. So in a way, it kind of works in our favor and honestly strengthens this class setup. So this is gonna be my first class setup you guys should check out if you guys are looking for an aggressive run and gun class but still trying to go for a nuke. Now if you guys do not like running specialists, I got you guys covered. This is gonna be an M4 build that's gonna be suited for sitting back, picking enemies off, going for assault streaks, and maybe going for a nuke. Now, for this build, we're running the Modic Suppressor on the M4A1 because it's going to add sound suppression as well as damage range. If you guys are not running a specialist build, I highly recommend you guys running the Modic Suppressor because it's going to be a lot easier to rotate and move around the map, being suppressed, not being hurt as much. It's going to allow you to stay alive a lot longer. Now, for the barrel, again, we're running the stock M16 Grenadier barrel for increased damage range, increased bullet velocity, as well as increased recoil control. Now, for the third attachment, we're running the underbarrel, which is going to be the Commando foregrip. Now, I like to run the Commando foregrip on my classes where I'm going to be sitting back and picking enemies off because it's going to completely iron out that recoil pattern, making a rifle with a max barrel like the Grenadier barrel very, very accurate and easy to use. Recoil stabilization and aiming stability, it really doesn't get any better than that. Now for my fourth attachment, excuse me, again, I'm running the 60 round magazine because I want to take out as many players as possible. And for the stock, I've actually went ahead and adjusted my class setup. It's something I made a change. I've taken off the TAC laser and I've put on the Forged TAC CQS stock, which is going to add aim down sight speed. This is actually a better stock to run specifically on the M4A1 over the stippled grip tape. So I recommend you guys going ahead and checking this one out. I've noticed that some of you guys are paranoid about the TAC laser, so if you guys do not want to feel that paranoia of people potentially seeing that laser, even though I have not yet seen that happen, you can run this as a replacement. Now for the remaining of my class, I have on the Renetti pistol, and for my perks, I have on Quick Fix, Restock, as well as Tracker. Now, I've completely rearranged my class setups because the meta has changed. There is no reason to run EOD anymore because C4s are so bad, so we can kind of run a perk like Quick Fix, which is going to speed up our health regeneration every time we get a double kill or kills in succession, in turn allowing us to stay alive a lot longer. I'm also running Restock on my class because I want to resupply on my proximity mines. So in fact, this is more of a sit back, post up defensive style class. Having Restock to get my stems as well as our proximity mines over and over again is super effective. And finally, I have on Tracker so I can see enemies' footsteps if I am rotating in their spawn, and also so I can kind of hide their death indicator when I'm actually taking enemies out in their spawn. Super, super helpful. I recommend you guys going ahead and checking this out. This is going to be my second class that I recommend you guys using if you guys are going for a nuke or trying to increase your KD but don't really care to run specialist. Now for my third class setup, this is going to be an aggressive Kilo 141 class setup with specialist. If you guys want an M4A1 replacement, this is the class to check out. So for the Kilo 141, I'm running it with the Syngard Arms Whisperer barrel. This is the absolute best barrel on the Kilo 141 because it's going to add sound suppression as well as bullet velocity. This barrel is what makes the Kilo 141 feel like it's killing enemies a lot faster because of that increased sound suppression. There's no barrel that's better than this for the Kilo 141, especially if you guys are trying to run and gun. Now for the second attachment, I'm running the Merc foregrip for recoil control as well as hipfire accuracy. For an aggressive AR class setup, the Merc foregrip is a no-brainer and an attachment you guys should be running at all times. Now for the third attachment, we're running the 60 round magazine. Just like how I run it on the M4, I want to be able to take out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 enemies at a single time without actually having to reload, and this is fantastic on an assault rifle that has very little recoil, very forgiving, and you're able to just take out the enemy team with ease. Now for the fourth attachment, I'm actually running the rubberized grip tape, which is going to add recoil control. Now I want my Kilo 141 to be accurate as possible, and this is also going to be an aggressive build, so having the rubberized grip tape to reduce that recoil is going to be super helpful to kind of counteract that no stock nerf. And then finally, talking about the no stock nerf, our fifth attachment is going to be the no stock attachment, which is going to add increased movement speed as well as increased aim down sight speed, making this weapon an absolute monster at close ranges, and what I recommend you guys running at all times on your Kilo 141, especially if you guys are looking for an aggressive style build. Now for my secondary, gonna be the same MP5 Overkill class I ran on my M4, and for the perks, EOD, Overkill Amped, Quick Fix, Ghost, and Cold Blooded, Proximity Mines, and the Stem Shot. This is a fantastic Kilo class set if you guys are looking for an M4A1 replacement. Now for my fourth class set, this is going to be a Kilo 141 build if you guys do not want to run Specialist, but still want to tear it up and potentially go for your first nuke. So for this setup, we're running the Kilo 141, and we're going to be running, like I said, again, the Syngard Arms Whisperer barrel, which is going to be, in my opinion, the absolute best barrel to run on the Kilo 141. We're running the Merc foregrip again. Like I said, the absolute best underbarrel to run on the Kilo 141. Running the 60 round magazine still, so I can take out more than one enemy. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at a single time without actually having to reload. But you guys can see here I've made some changes. I'm running the stippled grip tape instead on this class setup, so I can have increased aim down sight speed as well as increased sprint to fire speed to kind of bump up this weapon's close and mid-range handling. This is going to be a fantastic attachment to use, especially since we're not running Specialist. And then finally, because this is going to be a more defensive style play with this weapon, and we have an additional perk to use, I'm running fully loaded so I can stay locked and loaded and use my Kilo 141 from kill 1 all the way to kill 30 until I get that nuke. I highly recommend you guys going ahead and trying out this build if you guys are looking for a more defensive yet still aggressive Kilo 141 class if you guys are trying to go for your first nuke. And for our secondary, running the Renetti pistol, and for perks, Quick Fix, Restock Tracker, Proximity Mine, as well as the Stem Shot. A solid Kilo 141 build, like I said, if you guys do not want to run Specialist. Now for my fifth class setup, we're using the Grau. This is going to be an aggressive Grau class setup that you guys can still use at long range, but we're going to be utilizing a Specialist on this class. Now for the Grau, I like to run it with the Malik suppressor because, like I said previously, the same reason we're running it on the M4A1, we're running it on the Grau. This is going to be the best attachment to use if you guys are trying to flank and get into the enemy spawn and stay alive a lot easier. And honestly, I feel like the suppressed Grau is the best Grau. Something about this weapon, unsuppressed, it just gives me the wrong vibe. I love this weapon with the suppressor, and I think 99% of you guys agree that this is the best gun to use with a suppressor when this is equipped. Now for our second attachment, we're running the Tempest 26.4 inch Archangel barrel. This is going to add damage range, bullet velocity, as well as recoil control. In my opinion, this is going to be the absolute best barrel to run on the Grau because it's going to completely reduce that vertical recoil, making this weapon an absolute laser at long ranges. No recoil, incredibly easy to use. Now for our third attachment, we're running the Commando foregrip, which is going to add recoil stabilization as well as aiming stability. In my opinion, this is going to be the absolute best underbarrel to run on the Grau, and coupled with a max barrel, it's phenomenal. This gun has zero, and I mean zero, recoil. Now for our fourth attachment, running the 60 round magazine again, so we can take out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 enemies at a single time without actually having to reload. A very effective classic to use on this weapon. And for our fifth and final attachment, running the tack laser. This is like the stippled grip tape on steroids, and honestly what makes this weapon shine. It's going to add increased aim down sight speed, increased aiming stability, as well as increased aim walking steadiness, making this weapon an absolute laser and good at close range, medium range, as well as long ranges. You really cannot go wrong with this Grau class. And then again, for my secondary, the MP5 overkill build, EOD overkill amped, quick fix, ghost, and cold-blooded with the proximity mine and the stem shot as my tactical. Folks, if you guys are trying to get a nuke but don't want to run the M4A1, but maybe not a fan of the Kilo 1-for-1 for some reason, the Grau is going to be your way to go, and this build is going to guarantee that you guys get your nuke. It has no recoil. It is amazing. Now we're looking at a high damage class setup. A lot of you guys have been really enjoying the AK-47 recently, and I cannot blame you. I love the AK-47, and I have fine-tuned a class setup that you guys can use if you guys are trying to be aggressive or sit back and pick enemies off. Let's get right into it. So for the AK-47, you guys can see here, I'm running the monolithic suppressor for obvious reasons, sound suppression, and damage range, so we can obviously take enemies out at longer ranges, but in turn be aggressive and get into the enemy spawn and take enemies out without being hurt nearly as often. For my barrel, I'm running the 23-inch Romanian barrel. This is going to add increased damage range, bullet velocity, as well as recoil control. In my opinion, it's going to be the absolute best barrel to run on the AK-47 because it's going to make this weapon have virtually no recoil at longer ranges, and it actually frees up an attachment slot so we can be more universal with our entire build. Now, for my third attachment, we're running the tack laser. The AK-47 with the tack laser is phenomenal. I love it. It's like having the stippled grip tape on crack with this weapon. Increased aim down sight speed, aiming stability, as well as aim walking steadiness. You cannot go wrong with this. You can snap onto enemies instantly at medium to longer ranges, and in turn winning a lot more gunfights. It also stabilizes this weapon's weapon idle sway, which does kind of throw off your aim, especially at medium to long ranges, which this is going to correct that. That's not going to be an issue anymore. Now for my fourth attachment, I'm running the skeleton stock, which is going to add aim walking movement speed as well as aim down sight speed. Again, it's going to be another attachment to increase that aim down sight speed because we are running a lot of attachments that are going to weigh this weapon down, but in turn you still want to have this weapon accurate, so there's going to be a counterbalance for all that, making this a lot easier to use at close and medium ranges, and that's exactly what we're looking for with this weapon. And then finally we have the fully loaded perk, because when I am running the AK-47, I want to run it from kill 1 all the way to kill 30 till I get that tactical nuke, and it just kind of lets me be more, I should say, relaxed, and it's honestly forgiving having a max ammo AK-47 when you spawn in, so you can just focus on getting kills and not scavenging around for additional weapons. Now for the remaining of the class, I have on the Runetti pistol and the perks quick fix, restock, and tracker with the proximity mine and the stem shot as my tactical. Now we're going to be transitioning over to some rushing class setups, and we're going to be showing off an MP5 class that you guys can use, but you don't have to actually run Specialist, but because of that we have to make some adjustments with this setup. So with the MP5, you guys can see here, I'm still running the monolithic integral suppressor because in my opinion this is the absolute best rail to run on the MP5. I'm still running the Merc foregrip because this is going to be the absolute best underbarrel to run on the MP5. I'm still running the 45 round magazine because, like I said, we want to be able to take out as many players as possible, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 enemies at a single time without actually having to reload. And we're still running the stippled grip tape because increased aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. We want to make this weapon as aggressive as possible, but because we're not running Specialist and I do not want to be having to struggle at taking out enemies at longer ranges, I'm not running the no stock attachment. I'm actually going to be running the sleight of hand perk because this is going to be an aggressive build. I want to be locked and loaded. Sleight of hand is going to increase that reload speed, making this weapon a lot easier to use, especially if you guys are trying to run and gun. And if you guys are actually building this class setup up properly with the Renetti pistol, you're actually going to be sharing fully loaded as well. You guys can see here, since these weapons do share ammunition, if you guys run fully loaded on the Renetti, you're actually going to be getting fully loaded on your MP5 as well. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. It's going to be, in a way, a 7 attachment MP5 class setup because we have a muzzle, a barrel, an underbarrel, ammunition, a rear grip, sleight of hand, as well as fully loaded. Overall, in my opinion, the absolute best MP5 class setup to use if you guys are trying to run and gun and not utilize specialists and still put up streaks. It's just really fun to run this setup. And like I said, remaining on my class setup, Renetti pistol, make sure you guys are running fully loaded, quick fix, restock, tracker, proximity mine as my lethal, as well as the stem shot as my tactical. Now for my second rushing class, we're checking out the MP7. The MP7 is one of my favorite SMGs to use, especially if I'm trying to run a gun, and a lot of you guys enjoy the MP7 as well. Now for the MP7, I like to run it with a mild suppressor for sound suppression as well as damage range. In my opinion, it's going to be the absolute best muzzle to run on the MP7 because we can get into the enemy spawn and take enemies out, which this gun is going to excel at close range and also long range with this build because I've made some changes. And like I said, we can be able to take enemies out without being heard, in turn letting us stay alive a lot longer in the enemy spawn. Now for the second attachment, this is going to be very, very important. We have to be running the FSS Recon barrel, which is going to give us increased damage range, increased bullet velocity, as well as increased recoil control. This is very important to run on the MP7 because it's going to iron out that recoil pattern, making this weapon an absolute laser. And I mean a laser at long ranges. And honestly, you can challenge some ARs with this build. I absolutely love this attachment on the MP7. Except the fact this is an SMG, we're still running the Merc foregrip, so we can have recoil control as well as hip-fire accuracy. Again, I want to iron out that vertical recoil with this weapon, making it a laser at long ranges, but in turn, I still want to have good hip-fire accuracy so I can spray and pray and still have an SMG that excels at being an SMG, which is being a close range monster. Now for the fourth attachment, I'm running the 60 round magazine so I can take out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 enemies at a single time without reloading. The MP5 has an incredibly fast fire rate, so having a 60 round magazine is going to be really helpful with this weapon, and I recommend you guys going ahead and using this as your ammunition type. And then finally, we're running the no stock attach because we're going to be running and gunning with this class setup. Having increased movement speed as well as aim down sight speed is going to be phenomenal with this gun, and I think a lot of us like to have the MP7 with the no stock attachment. It just feels right in what makes this class setup complete. Now, remaining of the class setup, M4A1 overkill build, pretty much the same as my traditional M4A1 run and gun class setup. I have on EOD, overkill amped, quick fix, ghost, and cold-blooded, proximity mine, as well as the stem shot. If you guys are looking for an aggressive SMG run and gun build but don't want to run the MP5 and want a replacement, this is going to be a fantastic choice for your setups. Now for my third rushing class setup, we're checking out the Uzi, and I went ahead and actually adjusted my Uzi class setup here in Modern Warfare for Season 6. Now for the Uzi, I'm running it with the Malik suppressor, again, for sound suppression as well as damage range. I'm going to be able to get into enemy spawn and take enemies out without being heard. I also am running the 16.5 inch factory carbine barrel. This is going to add damage range, bullet velocity, as well as recoil control. Fantastic on this weapon. We want to reduce the vertical recoil with the Uzi, making it as easy to use at medium to long range as possible because you can challenge and beat ARs with this class, especially if you guys are running the right ammunition type. Now for the third attachment, we're running the TAC laser, which is a new attachment I've been running on my Uzi. This is going to be fantastic because it's going to add aim down sight speed, aiming stability, as well as aim walking steadiness. Pretty much the stable grip tape on steroids. and a fantastic attachment to use on your Uzi if you guys are trying to have an aggressive run and gun build but still maintain accuracy at longer ranges. Now, speaking of longer ranges, if you guys want to be able to challenge and beat ARs, you're gonna have to run the .41 AE 32 round magazine, which is gonna add damage and range. The Uzi is capable of getting a 2-shot kill if you guys are running this attachment, and in my opinion, it's a no-brainer. This is the absolute best attachment to run on the Uzi, and ever since they added this to this weapon, it's the only ammunition type you guys should be running. And then finally, we have this stippled grip tape on this build for increased aim down sight speed as well as increased sprint to fire speed to double up on that tactical laser. This is going to be a fantastic class and a fantastic attachment to use if you guys are trying to have an aggressive run and gun Uzi Classic. Overall, fantastic, and I think you guys should definitely check this out if you guys are looking for an MP5 or maybe, just maybe, an MP7 replacement. I love it, and I think it's going to stack up greatly against those weapons. Now, for my secondary, again, the M4A1 traditional running gun class setup, EOD Overkill Amped, Quick Fix Ghost and Cold-Blooded with the proximity mine and the stem shot as my tactical. For my 10th and final class setup, it's going to be on a DLC weapon, specifically a DLC weapon that has high damage. Now, this is going to be on the CR56A Max. Now, the CR56A Max is one of the best rifles in Modern Warfare, and let me explain why and showcase the class setup. Now, for the first attachment, we're running the Malik Suppressor, which is going to add sound suppression as well as damage range, making this weapon an absolute monster at longer ranges, but also very good if you guys are trying to embed yourself in the enemy spawn and take enemies out without actually being heard, in turn letting us stay alive longer. Now, for our second attachment, we're running the XRK Zodiac S440 barrel, which is going to be allowing us to have increased damage range, increased bullet velocity, as well as increased recoil control. In my opinion, this is going to be the absolute best barrel to run on this weapon, especially if you guys are trying to take enemies out at medium to long ranges. It's going to completely reduce its weapon's vertical recoil, which can be kind of hard to control at some times. This barrel will allow us to do that a lot easier. Now, for our third attachment, we're running the Commando Foregrip, which is going to add recoil stabilization as well as aiming stability. This attachment is going to completely iron out this weapon's recoil pattern, making it an absolute laser at medium to long ranges, making it a lot easier to use, and honestly, for some players, better than the AK-47. Now, for the fourth attachment, we're running the 45 round magazine. Now, this is going to be a mandatory attachment on this weapon because it's going to allow it to be a lot more forgiving. This weapon has a decently high fire rate, so being able to take out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 enemies at a single time without having to reload is going to be really effective on this gun, and giving us a little bit of peace of mind that we can run a gun and still mop up an entire enemy team, no problem. And for the fifth and final attachment, we're running the TAC Laser, which is going to be like the stippled grip tape on steroids for this weapon. Increased aim down sight speed, increased aiming stability, as well as increased aim walking steadiness. It's just like the AK-47. It feels just like the AK-47, but for this gun, it kind of feels like it has a little bit less recoil and a lot easier to use. So if you guys are looking for a DLC weapon that's solid, that has high damage, and very little recoil, I recommend you guys going ahead and checking out the CR56A Max. And right in the class setup, we have their nutty pistol, quick fix, restock tracker, proximity mine, as well as the stem shot. That's going to be the 10 best class setups you guys should be using within this Season 6 update. If there are 3 class setups I want you guys to check out, you want to use to get your first nuke, it's 100% going to be this first Overkill M4 MP5 class setup. This is literally the meta right now of Modern Warfare, and I recommend you guys going ahead and trying it out immediately. The second class setup I recommend you guys checking out is going to be this Kilo 141 aggressive yet kind of passive class setup utilizing assault. Again, a very, very solid Kilo 141 build, and I've been seeing a lot of you guys actually running around with this here in Modern Warfare, so appreciate you guys representing my class setup. And then for the final attachment, or I should say the final class setup, it's going to be this aggressive MP5 class you guys should be checking out if you guys do not like running Specialist too often. Again, very, very effective, and I think you guys should definitely be able to shine with this technically 7 attachment MP5 build. I want to make a lot more assault rifle in SMG classes that are utilizing assault streaks and not specialists in this video, because I consider the fact that not that many of you guys probably like running specialists too often, so I got you guys hooked up. If you guys did enjoy the video and want to see any more best class setups, best settings, tips and tricks, or any more gameplay breakdowns where I break down and analyze my gameplay or potentially break down and analyze your gameplay, make sure you guys absolutely smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and also turn on those post notifications. With that being said, I'm going to catch you guys in the next video. Deuces.